Hey there, I'm Mr. Tiger Drop Films. Maybe you've heard of me before. I'm gonna do my top 5 Yakuza games and top 5 Resident Evil games respectively. I've talked about both of these franchises ad nauseum on my channel, some of my favorites of all time, and they have a lot in common. And for both of these top 5s, I thought I'd just finally cave in and just share to you guys what I like at the moment. And for both of these lists, they're gonna have what I call a crossroads entry. That meaning that for like, say, the number 2 spot or whatever, there's 2 games that could really go either way on that spot, and it might change depending on the day. I just thought I might spice things up since there's a billion of these rankings on YouTube. Without further ado, I'm Mr. Tiger Drop Films. Grab your favorite stamina drink or your herb, and let's get into it. First things first, Yakuza. I'll put up a timestamp on how I'm doing this video. First half is Yakuza, second half is Resident Evil. Anyway, for my number 5 spot on this list, I'm gonna put Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii. Oh yeah, I know. Most recent game as this recording. However, after comparing this to a certain other Hawaiian game, I gotta say, after a lot of reflection, Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii is currently number 5 in my top 5. Now why is that? Well, it's just a much happier game, I know. And I really wanted a Majima game, just a solo game, and for the 20th anniversary, RGG delivered, all things considered, and gave us a Majima game that is goofy, over the top, funny as hell, and serious when it needs to be, which might just be who Majima is. I mean, if you can follow about the franchise, this game is a real treat. And I really love the Mad Dog style. Finally, we have a really, versatile style and Dragon engine that's very distinct, and I'm glad that Mad Dog fits that bill. For once, R2 just doesn't make another character go into extreme heat. Instead, we get to play as, well, Majima's Mad Dog Heat clones. The possibility, huh? His Mad Dog style is full of boss abilities throughout the years, such as his Quick Step, his Super Dash, his Hurricane, Mad Dog Slash, the Heat Daggers, and a bunch of cool heat actions and just distinct moves. Like, they even included Majima's Tiger Drop style, that's what I call it, where he hit R1 and triangle, and he does that little quick knife stab to counter someone. You know what I mean. I love it. I just feel like Mad Dog is one of the best styles in the whole franchise. You actually get to hold a weapon and a Dragon engine. You get some cool flashy abilities. You feel versatile to take on anyone. And I just wish we had more heat bars. For a 20th anniversary game, somehow we went back to the PS2 era of the first game and only having 1 heat bar. How did that even happen, man? And yeah, Sea Dog's a cool style, but Mad Dog's a real highlight here. And I just think that all the pirate theming is really cool, even though I'm not the biggest fan of Sea Dog. It's still a cool style. The blocking's a lot of fun. Calling in a giant monkey is a hell of a lot of fun. And overall, the open world, Honolulu, all the mini games, all the pirate sailing, be able to sail at night, day, and sunset, go on the Mad Atlantis, and even some weirdo islands, not even included in the main campaign, such as the winter area or the volcano area. Lots of fun to be had here, going through and having a lot of Majima's iconic outfits, like the red and black one, Goromi, his fisherman outfit from 8, and his Yakuza 0 outfits, and of course, his iconic snake skin with the ability to turn on the Majima construction helmet. A lot of fun. I really love this game in hindsight, and that's why it's in my top 5. Hell of a lot of fun time. And I hopefully get more guiding games in the future. At my number 4 spot, we have my first Crossroads entry, being a pseudo tie between Yakuza 6 The Song of Life and Yakuza 0 Big Money, More Problems. Now, both of these games released next to each other technically in terms of release order, and they both, I feel like, complement each other really well. Yakuza 0 being a start Kiryu's journey as a prequel, and of course Yakuza 6 was at one point the last Kiryu game as an old man. I gotta say, I think that The Song of Life edges out 0 for me just because I've known Kiryu as an older man, more than I've known him as a young guy in his 20s. And of course, that doesn't mean, any detriment to Yakuza 0. No, I think Yakuza 0 is a lot of fun. It was my first game. You don't forget your first time. The 80s aesthetic and story, being able to see where these characters will go in their future, and for old fans, be able to see a lot of subtle foreshadowing and Easter eggs on who these guys are when they were young. Yakuza 0 is a great game for old fans and new fans alike. Like I said, I love the 80s aesthetic, the combat's a lot of fun, the boss fights are great, and it's just a special game. It really is. The mini games are fantastic. However, I just think that I like Song of Life a bit more. That's why this is a crossroads entry. Yakuza 6 is just one of those games you remember every boss fight theme. I love the gameplay. The Dragon Engine is a lot of fun with Kiryu because I think Kiryu has always been like a Streets of Rage character. That's kind of simplistic arcadey ability with his moveset, but you can still add a lot more depth and versatility. And whether it's all the classic engines, the Zero engine, any of the engines, or the Dragon engine, there's a lot of fun to be had with simplicity playing as Kiryu. So you can always pack a mean punch and dish out the bad guys. That's what the Song of Life is. Kiryu fighting everybody in his way, whether it's a triad, a weird Yakuza kind of cult-ish thing in Hiroshima, or the Jigwan Mafia, or just anybody that gets in his way, even if it's a Tojo clan again. Kiryu's gonna take him down. He's raising hell against everybody because he wants to keep his family safe. Even if it's just some kid he hasn't met yet, that being his grandson. He just already loves him with all his heart. And Yakuza 6 is just another special game. It's intense, it's riveting, had me on the edge of my seat, and I love it. I just can't believe this at one point was the center for Kiryu, huh? So all in all, I'm gonna put this crossroads entry between Yakuza 6 and Yakuza 0 at the number 4 spot. With right now, at this moment, the edge going to Yakuza 6. Now let's go on to our number 3 spot, that being, well, Yakuza 3. What can I say? This game has a great atmosphere. Just it takes us back to 2009 with its atmosphere, its aesthetic, its art style, and its music. Like the soundtrack to this game is incredible. If I had to compare, I think Yakuza 6 and Yakuza 3 both have soundtracks to just remember every boss fight and long battle who they accompany to. Maybe that's just me. I love Yakuza 3's soundtrack, whether it's Fly, Luxism, About Tears, Soundstorm, More Huge, Ill Treatment. I can keep going on and on and on and on and on. I really like the Receive You remix in this, that being Receive and Stab You. And Tears of the Father is a great tear-jerking ending credits track. And there's another theme I really like that only pertains to the Japanese release, that being Loser, which is a sort of surf rock theme. It invokes a feeling nostalgia, and it really fits the era that this game takes place in. I just love Yakuza 3, the combat is a lot of fun. Like I said earlier with Yakuza 6, if you're playing as Kiryu, it's always going to be a lot of fun to be had. If you really know Kiryu, then you know how to dish out pain and protect those that you're protecting. And even in this game's combat engine, it's still a lot of fun. You get to collect a bunch of cool gear and weapons like the Dragon Knuckles, or the Dragon Nunchucks, and the Dragon Spear weapons. A lot of fun to be had. And I just wish that the heat was a bit better in this game in terms of generating heat. But with that being said, I still think Yakuza 3 has an amazing set of lock battles and boss battle and random counters to boot. Lots of cool mini games in this. Side stories such as the Reaper side story. I made a whole video about Kashiwagi and that. Go check it out, by the way. But in all, Yakuza 3 is a great game, great story, great atmosphere, great soundtrack, fun mini games. Okinawa is a fun place to explore, and Yakuza 3, like many other games, has a lot of little secrets you gotta go on your way to explore. And I just think that all in all, there's really nothing else like Yakuza 3, so I'm gonna put it at the number 3 spot. And now for the number 2 spot, that being Kiwami 2. Now, technically, Kiwami 2 at one point was the last Kiryu game, just in terms of release order in 2017. However, much like how the original Yakuza 2 built off Yakuza 1 on the PS2, Kiwami 2 built off of Yakuza 6. I think it does it really well. Namely, you get a lot more gear slots in Kiwami 2, and you can finally hold weapons in a Dragon Engine game. How about that? I love the weapons in Kiwami 2, like the whole lightsaber, fire sword. I really like the demon blade Muramasma, and you get the whole Gary Buster's goddamn metal balls. How about that? Balls out, man. And Kiwami 2 just gives you a lot of what you want out of a Kiryu game. It's a remake of a classic story, one of my favorites in the entire franchise, a story that builds off perfectly off of Yakuza 1, no matter what version you play. It's a game that picks off for the first game and where the characters were, and builds off and gives a nice, compelling, and interesting story that keeps you on your heels, even as crazy as it gets. I just love Yakuza 2 so much, man. And I just think that in terms of combat, it's really a lot of fun. You get to just beat the shit out of everybody, toss them everywhere, great weapons, interesting gear for the franchise that really changes Kiryu's stats. And I love just the ragdoll physics. And yeah, while the heat actions may be overpowered, there's just so many in the game, or you get excited. And I actually like it how they do Kiryu's R2 heat ability. I think 6 and Kiwami 2 built off of Yakuza 5's extreme heat in a nice way. While it may not be the same type of rage mode that Yakuza 5 had, it's still interesting and it really comes to handy. And I like that in Kiwami 2 you can only activate it when you have a full entire heat bar. And if you actually increase the heat bar of the gear you have, well, it can be even longer, more heat slots if you will, and health. And all in all, Yakuza Kiwami 2 may be a bit of an outlier in terms of remakes, but for the Yakuza series, thank God they added a subtitle to the remake so you know they're a different game. And they bring back the original voice actors, which is always a big plus for me. And it's still stuffed with a bunch of mini games, whether it's the revised cabaret clubs, or an evolution of the Kiryu clan in Yakuza 6 by creating Majima Construction and Kiwami 2. Match made in heaven. You get to customize your own teams. I even made a whole team full of Amons. There was just a lot of goofy, dumb fun. And the Majima Saga is fun too. It's just a little mini game. I mean, it wasn't even DLC. It came with the full game. You know, you didn't have to pay money for a Majima Saga. It was part of Kiwami 2 upon release. Just a fun mini game. Little distraction, sure, but I always have a lot of fun going to it for what it is. All in all, the game has a bunch of fun mini games. In addition, like the photo shoot mini game or fighting all the street bosses. I could go on and on about Kiwami 2, but I love it, man. Great sequel, great story, and I just really like Sotenbori in this game. It's technically pretty faithful to the original PS2 version of Sotenbori, as in the original map. Not the one we got in 5.0, just the original one. And I do wish they included that original additional 3rd district. They really could have. They had the money for it. If Yakuza 6 could have an additional part to Hiroshima being the mountain area as a map, they could have done the same for the other Osaka district. They could have. But even with that in mind, I really love Kiwami 2 and its soundtrack and the additional tie-in songs done by the band Sim. I think they're great. Check out that band, they have a lot of versatility. Now for my number 1 Yakuza game. That's gonna have to be Yakuza 5. I love Yakuza 5, man. Open world is stellar, 5 cities, and the plot that's only about Yakuza fighting each other. No other outside influence, no police, no cult, no government, no anything else. Just plain Yakuza fighting each other, and I love it. We get the Tojo clan and Omi Alliance going against each other again. This game, much like Yakuza 3, is stuffed with a bunch of cool new Irazumis to embellish in. Boss fights are great. Bunch of cool characters, Kiryu, Saejima, Akiyama, Haruka, Shinada, a level 5 of them. Like I said, this game really feels like I get to explore all of Japan for once. Each city, district is unique. The soundtrack is fantastic. Each theme just puts you in the mood. This game, much like Yakuza 3, really feels like a dream in a sense, wink wink, but this game really has an art style that I adore. I don't know if it's the filter or just the way the characters design, the cinematography, the cutscenes. Just the way every city feels like a dream, no matter what time of day it is. I love it. I love Yakuza 5. The message it has. It really feels like just these developers writing about a time of their life and living it to the fullest. The game has so many cool mini games, side stories. I'm still finding secrets in this game. No, not just the sub stories, but other mini games, whether it's the cabaret clubs or just exploring the other side content like taxi driving, hunting, baseball, pop idol, anything in the game. Lots of fun to be had, like maxing out your weapons and stats. Lots of little secrets. I even made a video about the secrets of Yakuza Games. I found these weird comedian guys in Kamurocho out of the blue. Like I said, Yakuza 5 is filled to the brim of detail, amazing music, ambience, cool districts unlike any other, and every character, you never know what you're going to do when you play as them. Lots of fun things to find, photo ops, the chef stuff. little details in the cities. It's just a blast. And I just think that Yakuza 5 is my favorite in the franchise right now. Still stuck to me ever since I first played it in 2021. There's nothing else like it in the franchise, man, and I adore Yakuza 5. I dream big. And so, that was my top 5 Yakuza games, with number 5 spot being Part Yakuza in Hawaii, then a crossroads at number 4 between Yakuza 6 and Yakuza 0, and then I had Yakuza 3 at number 3, Kiwami 2 at number 2, and then Yakuza 5 at the number 1 spot. Yakuzers, feel free to let me know what you thought in the comments below. If you haven't seen it already, check out my Ton of More Files, the complete series, right here. It's my big 15th anniversary spot for Yakuza 4. As for my runner-up games in the Yakuza series, well, that had to be Yakuza 4 and Judgment, the first Judgment. Now, with that being my top 5 Yakuza games, let me jump over to Resident Evil, and I'll tell you my top 5 right there, you Resident Evil fans. And if you're also a fan of Resident Evil, then I hope you stick around for this next part. At the number 5 spot, I have, well, Resident Evil 5. A game that's a hell of a lot of fun, a true action-packed adventure from start to finish. I beat this game on hard with one of my brothers, and we had a lot of fun. Like, actually playing this 2-player is a blast. And even just playing as by yourself with the AI companion of Sheva, I had no problem with her. She was fine as a companion in the game. Like, she's kind of a walking inventory box, you want to play that way. But still, if you command her right, a lot of fun, even on a hard mode, you can do it yourself. But the game is even better 2-player, and it's just a real blast. You never know what happens in 2-player, a lot of more fun and that unpredictability, a lot of more innate fun. And I think Resident Evil 5 is just a blast from start to finish, man. The atmosphere is stellar, I love the gameplay, the weapons are cool, the atmosphere, like the different locations you go to Africa, whether it's Kyushu in the city, or the safari plains, the wetlands, the villages, the tunnels of the ancient city, the Tricell facility on the boat, and finally fighting Big Daddy Albert Wesker. And the game is a lot of fun, start to finish. And I think that it really is a cool sort of just celebration of Resident Evil. At that point, like going in loading screen, every time the game has loading screen, it has a fun fact about Resident Evil's lore. I love that about the lore. And as for the whole loading screen itself, the way it has DNA floating around, it reminds me of Ultimate Destruction, that incredible Hulk game on the PS2, a similar main menu design in a way, with the ambience and all. I just think that Resident Evil 5 is just amazing, action-packed, it's still scary, because I think that, you know, being in a war-torn area with bioweapons is still scary. That's what these bioweapons were meant to do in the first place. They're meant for war, and we get that in Resident Evil 5. We get that war-torn horror feeling. And sure, the art style kind of fits that with the filter and everything, but I think it's amazing. I like the journey Chris goes on. He's a bit of a, not quite protagonist, but you know, he's a reserved guy at this point. But following the BSAA is a lot of fun. Desperate escape with Mommy, Jill Valentine is a lot of fun. Really tough mode, and you also get the legend, Josh Stone. And as for other side modes, you get Lost in Nightmares of Jill and Chris going through a wonderful ode to the first Resident Evil game, complete with the cool fixed camera Easter egg you gotta find yourself. Oh no, with mercenaries included, I think Resident Evil 5 is a fantastic game, and I'm gonna have it at my number 5 spot. And at the number 4 spot, I have, well, Resident Evil 1 Remake. Kind of building off Resident Evil 5, we get the classic Jill and Chris adventure in the Spencer Mansion. It's terrifying, it's claustrophobic, and you just get sucked right into the world. I wish we got remakes of 2 and 3 in this style, because I think this Resident Evil 1 remake is fantastic. Every time I go back to it, I have to relearn the controls and the puzzles, but there's nothing wrong with that. It's a lot of fun. I'm still playing through the original Dino Crisis right now, and it's cool seeing the different ways that Dino Crisis and Resident Evil approach the fixed camera genre. So, I love the Resident Evil 1 remake. The story's simple, but there's nothing wrong with that. The way it incorporates horror tropes and iconic imagery into a new experience that can only be told through a video game format as you explore this horrifying mansion of 2 separate characters. A lot of fun. I just love Resident Evil 1, man. There's nothing else like it. And the enemies are fun. The hunters, goddamn those hunters, I swear, are the most terrifying thing in all Resident Evil. In every game they pop up in, they give me trouble. It's like goes from being Night of the Living Dead to Jurassic Park in an instant, in terms of going from zombies to the more dinosaur-like hunters. The boss fights in this game are eerie, whether it's Lisa Trevor, or the giant spider, or Neptune the shark, or the snake, or the big tyrant himself. Enemy variety is really good in this game. It keeps you on your toes every time you go back to it. This game is dripping in atmosphere. It feels like I get lost in the mansion and the forest and the tunnels and the laboratory every time, and I mean that in a good way. All in all, Resident Evil 1 belongs at number 4 spot in my top 5. I love this game, man. And at the number 3 spot, I have Resident Evil 4 Original. This game has the PS2 feeling to it in all the right ways. It's kind of funny because this game came out like after the first Resident Evil remake, but they have very different art styles. But I love Resident Evil 4's gothic approach to the font and everything. The music is serene, it's ethereal, it's amazing. This game is dripping in atmosphere and has a lot of cool random things you can find in it too. I love the side modes like Separate Ways of Mommy Ada, and then you get cool modes like Assignment Ada and Mercenaries, and I just think this game is a lot of fun. Of course, the base campaign is legendary. Going through it on New Game Plus is a hell of a lot of fun. Getting all the weapons like the damn laser cannon, or the minesweeper, or the Chicago typewriter, and many more like the hand cannon. This game is amazing. Inventory system is awesome. I like the arcadey feel of the combat. And I've sunk so many hours on the Mercenaries, it's not even funny. But hell, I'll laugh anyway. The antagonists in this game are a lot of fun. I mean, just look at Krauser. It's like Rambo on steroids, doing this insane jumping around. Like, the whole boss fight of Krauser is phenomenal. It's hilarious, it's threatening, it's just a great bro moment all around. Then you get a guy like Oswald Sadler, who's like Hans Gruber and Emperor Palpatine mixed together. He's a lot of fun. I love his final boss fight. All in all, this game is just fantastic, dripping in atmosphere and charisma, and great moment-to-moment gameplay, and a nice sprawling campaign that you just can't forget. I love Resident Evil 4, and Separate Ways, and all the side modes like Mercenaries and everything else. If you haven't played the original, go do it. If you haven't, you're missing out. All in all, this game always makes my right hand fall off. And at my number 2 spot for this Resident Evil ranking, I have my first Crossroads, that's right. Depending on the day for my number 2 spot, it's either going to be Revelations 1 or Revelations 2, for a couple of reasons. These games are dripping in atmosphere, a different kind of horror, they exuberate, but I do think I'm leaning more towards the first Revelations, just something about being stuck on a ship. Now I know there's a bunch of Resident Evil games on a ship, but the Queen Zenobia and the other cruise liners are truly unique in their own right. Maybe it's because the ships were designed by George Trevor himself, I don't know, but the Queen Zenobia and its sisters have a real dreary feel to it, a kind of a sleepy feel, but you always feel like you're on your edge. I think this game did a great job making it claustrophobic like the original Resident Evil. You're always on your toes. While sure, you may only be able to carry 3 weapons, there's only 1 herb. Not a lot of inventory stuff besides the weapon box, and it's really light on puzzles, but still, this game is still amazing for me. The swimming aspect is cool twists on the gameplay. The enemies are incredible, there's nothing else like them in the franchise. The T-Abyss virus is terrifying. If I told you that Resident Evil 5 is terrifying because it has more war-torn feel to it, that is horror in its own right, then Revelations 1 makes things claustrophobic while at the same time apocalyptic, because if the virus got into the ocean, it'd be game over, man. Game over, man. Game over. And I just think that the T-Abyss virus is one of the more terrifying ones for me in the franchise, with its aquatic feel. But we get another Chris and Jill adventure that's really unique, and the side characters are amazing. Keith and Quinn, a lot of fun. Jessica is funny too. I love Parker. Then you get Conan O'Brien in the game. And then you get guys like the 2 old dudes, Clive O'Brien, and then Lansdale. They're a lot of fun whenever they bicker. The whole Dante's Inferno theme in this game really highlights it for me, really elevates it too. And you're not just stuck on a ship, you get to go on other cool areas, like a crash wreckage on shore, or an Arctic base, or the towers of Terra Grigia. Lots of cool things. And for a game that's just a spin-off, it has a giant goddamn laser beam in the form of a satellite. The scale of this game is great. It does feel like a crime drama, and I love it. It's a true standout in the Resident Evil franchise, and I wish we had more games like it. Then you get the Revelations 2, which I love as well. Especially with the way it brought back both Claire and Barry, and I loved how it expands the mythos, where instead of a Dante's Inferno theme, you get Franz Kafka's works, his novels and short stories. They permeate through all the atmosphere, and this game has a different kind of scary. Your mind feels like it's breaking and bending. It's really terrifying being stuck on an isolated ex-Soviet Union island where everything keeps mutating over the course of 6 months. You really feel isolated in a way unlike anything else in the franchise. And the monsters in this game they actually made me jump a few times, I'll tell you what. And this game also builds off of Resident Evil 6 with its raid mode, incorporating maps from that game, and in addition to the previous Resident Evil Revelations 1 raid mode. I think that's where I would stand still. I prefer the way the characters emote in Revelations 1's raid mode, with all their alternate costumes as well. You get Sailor Chris Redfield and Pirate Valentine, but in Revelations 2 raid mode you get a lot more customized by being able to hold 4 guns, and with the co-op is a lot more fun. It's actually a split-screen co-op on console, unlike the first Revelations 1. And all in all, I just like how the second Revelations game incorporates maps from past games. That's a real high point for me. And including enemies from past games, like that's insane, man. But, depending on the day, it simply changes on which Revelations raid mode I prefer, or which style and overall story of the game is on my mind. But as for right now, I'm going to give the edge to Revelations 1. So, that's my second spot for this entry. And now, what is my number 1 favorite Resident Evil game of all time? Well, if you're a returning viewer, you've heard me talk about it in previous Resident Evil videos. My number 1 favorite Resident Evil game has to be Resident Evil 6. A game that I see to be a big celebration of all things Resident Evil, all previous things I've talked about on this particular ranking. It all culminates in Resident Evil 6. It takes horror on a more apocalyptic scale, builds off the war-torn atmosphere in Resident Evil 5, while incorporating several changing characters and their own campaigns from previous games. It takes all that in addition to a plethora of amazing enemy design, variety, and engaging gameplay. This game has the best boss fights in the series, and I love the atmosphere of Resident Evil 6. The soundtrack is killer. You get Leon, Ada, Chris, Jake, Sherry, and other characters in a great sprawling game with unique villains such as Usanak being Nemesis Jr., like his niece, or his nephew in all things considered. And then you get things like House being the big apocalyptic threat of this game with a unique design. Like, look at him, House, just terrifying. He's chaos incarnate. And much like in Revelations 1, if this guy got into the ocean, it'd be game over. Then you get a character like Carla, who represents kind of like how 5 made Jill evil for a little bit. Carla is the evil side of the Ada. She's just pure, sly, spy motif, while just being a more evil side that you get from the Carla personality. And she was ultimately created by Simmons, just an evil politician, businessman who has a long hand in the US government for decades of his family archetype, that family organization. And then you get, well, to go back to Carla, she was the cause of all 3 final bosses besides herself, so she is the big bad of the game, but it all culminates in a game that sprawls different continents, countries, atmospheres, soundtracks, and enemy variety. Like, you get the classic Plaga foes of the C virus that mutate on the whim, but you also get your normal zombies at another level, which is the C virus. I just think this game is full of great boss battles, enemy variety, soundtrack, and I gotta add, The multiplayer, man. Best multiplayer in a Resident Evil game in terms of matchmaking. You can infiltrate someone's campaign as a monster, or you can fight in a sort of hunter mode as Usanek and take turns being Usanek. Then you can do mercenaries online, of course, like No Mercy, but you also just do 3v3 gang fights. A lot of fun. I love this game, man. Resident Evil 6, much like Yakuza 5, there's no other game like it. Go check out my previous Resident Evil 6 videos on why I love this game. So in all, for my Resident Evil top 5, number 5 spot, Resident Evil 5, number 4, Resident Evil 1 Remake, number 3, Resident Evil 4 Original, number 2, my crossroads between both Revelations games, and number 1, my all-time favorite is Resident Evil 6. So, let me know in the comments, you Resident Evil fans, what your favorite Resident Evil games are. What's your top 5? Let me know. And please, check out my other Resident Evil videos if you haven't already. So in all, this was my top 5 Yakuza games and my top 5 Resident Evil games. Let me know in the comments what you think, and if you're new to the channel, check out my other videos on these respective franchises. Until next time, I've been Mr. Tiger Drop Films, and stay tuned for more, cause I got more coming. Hiya!